Article 61 to stand against the corporates, fascist demands upon us all. And we've been using it very, very successfully. Now, I guess most of you are aware of Article 61 in the Magna Carta. The fact that it has been invoked. It was invoked on the 23rd of March 2001. And it was invoked according to the correct protocols of British constitutional law. Therefore, anyone who denies Article 61's invocation will be, if they do it publicly, will be committing sedition. If they act against you, will be on notice of the fact that Article 61 is invoked. They'll be committing and aiding and abetting high treason. So we've used this process against courts, HMRC, and the Crown Prosecution Service with three very good processes that we used and got them all to back off. We even got HMRC to repay fine monies of £1,700 and we only used one question. Do you have authority to make the command on me since Article 61 was invoked? Now what they tend to do is they'll start off by ignoring your questions and they'll just respond to the acts and statutes which they say that you have to stand under. So after we sent them the first notice, because we conditionally accept everything, so we send them a notice of conditional acceptance. I conditionally accept your demand, or your fine, your summons, whatever it is, on proof that Article 61 is no longer in effect, and that therefore you then have authority to make that demand. Obviously, they can't prove Article 61 is not in effect because for it not to be in effect today, the Barons Committee have to come out and publicly declare that the present grievances that have been satisfied, and then we're all supposed to, go back and be constitutional subjects. Well, we can't be constitutional subjects at the moment and go back to that kind of regime. We never can, because the monarch, alleged monarch, committed treason by ratifying the Nice Treaty. So that has to be cleared up. Just getting out of Europe, Brexit, isn't going to solve anything. We have to have the treason matter now heard in a properly convened court de jure, which means a jury of 12 people standing under British constitutional law. That is due process of law, and that can't be denied again. That can't be denied us, which it is denied us, by the way, but it can't be denied without committing treason, not by written statement. All they do is they back away from us. And HMRC repaid fine monies of £1,700 to one of my clients after we just asked them the same question, Article 61 all the time. That's all we ever bang on about. So they repaid £1,700 and repealed a £1,250 odd fine that they were trying to enforce on my client at the time. I also helped another client, Danielle Davidson, Delia, on the Facebook group page. She had a committal order for prison from a county court judge, alleged judge, over contempt of court. Now the reason she had contempt of court charge against her was because she didn't attend 2 summonses at the county court for non-payment of water and sewage charges. Now the reason she was rebutting the non-payment of water and sewage charges is because that Thatcher in 1986 created the National Rivers Authority and Ofwat and basically privatised our public service, which was water and sewage, which our forefathers created with their sweat equity and their taxation as a public service, because fundamentally water is a fundamental need for human life. So if you support if you pay your water companies, you're aiding and abetting the theft of a public service. So we added that into our process. Of course, using Article 61 as the basic substance, the basic foundation of what we're stating, and the district judge Bromilo from Yeovil County Court, they ran away. She never served 7 days in prison, she never went to a summons, she never paid the water, and she never paid any fines. And that's still current today, and that's been 2 years now, since she was given 48 hours to either appear, present herself to the police for sentencing, or to attend a court. The other one we had a very good success was with Danielle again, and she's a right rebel, is Danielle, she's great. She wanted to oppose the growing of hemp, or even cannabis, but she was growing hemp in a garden. You have to supposed to have a license to grow hemp, for goodness sake. And so she was really opposed to that because she knows the health benefits of hemp and cannabis, which is quite profound. You know, obviously, most of us know the benefits of such a plant. And so, because she's in rebellion, and the police at Wells, because we had them all on notice, knew she was in rebellion, and when they busted her and took her plants, it was all recorded. Basically, we went after them, and I put the court on notice that they have no authority. I went after the local chief inspector of police, Mark Nicholson, who just ignored me. And basically, the Crown Prosecution Service, after a little bit of a process, wrote back saying, lack of evidence, we're discontinuing the matter. So this is what they don't do is say, oh, you're absolutely right. You know, you're standing under the law and we're not. Yeah, you're right. No, they're never going to do that, and we'd be foolish for us to expect them to do that. They always find another excuse to back off and run away. And that's what we've done consistently every time with every one of us. Every process that I've personally done, I've had a 100% success rate with. Others, there's one other guy actually that I know of that says he's used the process all correctly, and they still arrested him, they still stole his stuff, they still did this. And I haven't seen his full process, but I can guarantee you he didn't do it properly. Whatever he did not do what we've been doing and showing other people what we've been doing, because we can't really give you any legal advice or how to act. We just show you, look, this is what we did, this is the results we've got, you can do the same. And so I have to move on now to what other processes we've done. Well, let's move on a little bit very quickly. This is all unrehearsed, of course, so I'm just paraphrasing and getting through this as best as I can. But we want to bring a class action. There are many of us now that have stood under Article 61 and used it correctly, and they've backed off. But still, I have a claim from 5 years ago, and there are other people, gentleman over there, Marcus Chamberlain. He has a claim against police brutality, and he stood totally under the law. They all backed off from him. He's never been to the summons that they made him go to. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring a class action against the Crown, the government, the Lords, and we're going to go after certain groups, political groups, namely UKIP, because they're supposed to be the ones that oppose the European Union the most. So we're going to put Nigel Farage, Nuttall, who's the local, the new head of UKIP, on notice, and we're going to ask all our members to go after our local UKIP MP representatives. And we're going to ask them one question: where do you stand under the invocation of Article 61? They have a duty of care to respond to you. They're public servants. It's a very simple question. We've proved the evidence that it's been invoked. The Telegraph reported on it. That's the evidence we often use. Also the letters between the Barons Committee and Sir Robin Jambrin, the alleged Queen's private secretary at the time. If you read that notice, or the letter on that will prove all the treason that it has and is being committed in that letter. So it's very, very good evidence. And it can't be opposed unless whoever opposes the Constitution, which is either sedition or treason. And this is why this remedy is so powerful. We're getting judges, and we're getting, so-called judges and police and bailiffs. They're all backing off from us once we put them on notice of the facts. Okay, so
what's that notice you're putting them on?
we'll put them on notice that Article 61 of the Magna Carta was invoked on the 23rd of March 2001, according to the correct protocols of British constitutional law.
Dave, just for people that don't know what Article 61 is, I know you've more likely probably memorised on your head. When you say it, it's just some people might not know what it is.
Okay, sorry, I probably jumped off into my world a little much there. Article 61 is the security clause of the Magna Carta 1215. Now, the Magna Carta 1215, no matter what the propagandists will tell you, is in effect today. It's totally legal. Yeah, John was under duress when he. Well, let me just get to that point. For something to be legal, it has to be lawful. It has to comply with the British Constitution. So the biggest lie we've got today is that we've got a legal system. No. We have an illegal system. So actually, I'm using the terminology legal more now because I sort of, the last year or so, I've got to understand that myself. It's all a progression of growing in awareness about this. So, yeah, so we're actually using legal instruments. These notices that we use. Oh, let me get back to the first point. Article 61. This is the security clause of Magna Carta. It's part of the contract. It's part of the equal consideration with that agreement. Okay? It was sealed under duress because King John was a bloody tyrant. And he was cutting off people's noses and ears and poking eyes out and stealing people's land. And the barons and the people that supported the barons, because it was general people as well, had enough of it. And so they said, look, either you stand under the law, or we're going to get another king, and we're going to, we're going to take you out. So you can say it's under duress, but under the same similar sort of duress that a convicted murderer would be under, to be honest with you. So Magna Carta 1215 was invoked legally, lawfully, and stands to this day, and it has been evidenced so, even by just the Queen, the alleged Queen, responding to the Baron's petition. She's responded, she was given 40 days to reply, and she replied on the 39th day. If there was no obligation for her to reply at all, then she wouldn't have done. Okay, we celebrated Magna Carta 1215 in 2015. We didn't celebrate the 1297 version in 1997. So, again, common sense really comes down to common sense, knowing what is truth, realising the propaganda and the lies. So the security clause, Article 61, has equal consideration. We have the duty under law to stop a tyrannical regime, stop the usurpation of our constitution, our sovereignty, and so Article 61 is like the security clause of our constitution, if you like, and it's a very important one. Without Article 61, we wouldn't have any peaceful redress against a tyrant. And so this is what we really do need, and we're using this process totally peacefully, totally honourably, and totally legally. Alright? So we're the ones that are standing under the law here. Everyone else in the country, including police, politicians, and anyone else that works in the services that are not standing under Article 61, are acting in outlawry. Whether they like it or not, 99% of the country are outlaws. They don't realise it, okay? So Article 61, the security clause, the equal consideration is, we have the right to seize castles, lands, stop aiding and abetting a criminal regime, as long as we don't harm the sovereign nor their heirs or successors. That's the equal consideration. So we can do this peacefully, but as long as we stand under the common law while we're doing it. So we've used it, and we've been using it for I've been using it for 7 years. Someone's been using it for just a couple of years now, but we've had a lot of success. Like I said, if you go onto my Facebook group page and look in the files, I've written up a layman's guide to lawful rebellion. It should give you the right concept of what we're doing, why we're doing it. And it also has the three processes that we've done against the cannabis, HMRC, and the contempt of court charge.
The details of the Facebook group.
I can give you a flyer, sir. The Facebook group page is called Practical Lawful Dissent. If anyone's got a pen, they might want to write down our new website, which is only being created at the moment, but it's called www.commonlawcourts.co.uk. Well, that is a forum, because we want to get off of that blooming fascist book. And yeah, because there's too many trolls on there. Commonlawcourts.co.uk. Would anyone else like a flyer? Yeah. I'll just go around and pass them round to hands. I'm going to probably run out because this is the last. Sorry. I will get back to you, sir. Sorry. Right, yes? Yeah, there are duplicate.
Co.uk.
There's only a few left, but yeah, go for it. Sorry if anyone doesn't get one. That's the last of our production. Okay. Well, sorry, that's the last of the flyers today.
Sorry, so when you say you're using these instruments at 7 weeks,
Okay. The instruments that we're using are lawful instruments, they're notices. The reason we use notices, let's just wait for everyone's attention. The reason we use notices is because when you put somebody on notice of a fact in law, they cannot deny to know that fact. Okay, so if you notify somebody of a fact and provide the evidence of that fact, they can't turn around and say, I was unaware of that fact. Okay? Now, when it comes to the facts of treason, you have an obligation under law, if you know of an act of treason being planned or committed within or without the realm, to report that to a justice of the peace as soon as you can. If you don't do that, in the section 1 of the 1795 Treason Act, it's called misprision of treason. You're aiding and abetting. You can be, if you don't report the crime, you can actually be, and it's proven that you knew about it, you can be convicted for that crime. So we have an obligation to report that crime. We have an obligation to use these notices. We are compelled by the law to stand against this criminal government and to do it in an honourable, peaceful and logical, reasonable, evidential way. And that is what we're doing. And I've got to tell you guys, it's growing. This is getting bigger and bigger by the day, and we're having success after success. And I've had 100% success. I started most of my processes in Glastonbury, where I did 2 or 3 pretty powerful successes there. Like I say, against HMRC, CPS, and Her Majesty's Courts and Tribunals. And they're all back to it. And we've got evidence, like I say, in the layman's guide to prove all this. We've got a couple of people here that have used the process, like I said, with Marcus. I'd like to have had a few more of us, but they haven't managed to turn up.
can I just ask a question?
Yeah.
Is this applicable in Scotland as it is here?
Yes, it is.
Is there not sort of a different...
The Acts of Union bring in Magna Carta to Scotland as well.
Right.
Look, Connor, we've got a really great guy. He's a young guy on the Facebook group page. Connor, his name is, and he's doing the Scottish element. He's really up together. Done a lot of research. So look on the Facebook group page. He's one of the admin. Connor Wilkinson.
Fantastic.
He's a really good guy, and he's got his own Scottish element of the rebellion. So you can get all your information from there, and he's a fantastic guy. Shame he couldn't make it today, like a lot of them actually.
Excuse me, may I ask a very important question? Why is it that they ask for the oaths of allegiance to be signed at the central barrier? And do you sign it with the thumbprint as you or do you sign it as the why do you have to send it? Why can you not just do the oath and keep it?
No, you can.
Why do you have to because I'm part of the sovereign movement on Facebook, Sovereign Power Legal. I've got a lot of people wanting to invoke this and use it. I have done it myself, and I've gone quite far in advance with my statutory and notices and stuff like that. I've chatted to you quite a bit.
Okay.
What I don't understand and I can't answer is, why do we have to sign, because contracting, questionable, and 2, why, so yeah, can we not sign and send it? Or can we use a thumbprint?
No, right, okay. Let's first of all state why we ask people to. Let's just state why we ask people to create an oath and send it to one of the barons. It was an obligation. It wasn't an obligation. It was a promotional thing. We wanted the barons to realise that actually people are waking up to this and that they're going to have support. So we thought it would be a good idea to send them the allegiances. So we realised that the army is starting to arrive now. And we can't expect the Barons Committee to enter the battlefield without the army arriving, okay? And there's not enough of us yet. We've got to protect them as well. They've got to feel that they are protected by enough people. So you can create an oath of allegiance. We always insist on you create an oath of allegiance, okay? Because that takes away it proves your intent. It proves that your intention. You don't have to send it to a baron, you can have it, write it up, get 2 people to witness it, because that makes it a legal instrument. Like in any crime that you see, if there's 3 witnesses, you know, the crime is like evidential.
3 witnesses. Three good men.
Three good men, three witnesses, call them what you like, three good women, anyone, doesn't matter. And these family members, no one's ever going to question the validity of your co-signatory witnesses. So no, you don't have to send it to a baron. You can just keep it and use it in a process. Because what we do is when we conditionally accept, we send usually 4 pieces of evidence. We send Article 61 text, the closest that I could find that has been translated from Latin. We send the letters between the barons and Sir Robin Janbury, and we send the Daily Telegraph report of the 24th of March 2001, stating that it was invoked. The Barons Committee, the Barons are a quorum of 68 Viscounts, Dukes, Lords, etc. that got together in 1999 to discover or to discuss whether treason would be committed with the signing of the Nice Treaty. And if you read through the letter between Barons and Sir Robin Janbury, you'll see all the evidence of why it's treason. All the evidence, we use the evidence. If you go into the files, if you pick up Layman's Guide, the evidence is in there. But there's also a separate file just saying evidence, and you can read it in there. Now I've lost my thread. Somebody picked me up. Where was I? No, he told me with the Barons. Okay.
Evidence. 4 pieces of evidence, and you just.
All right. So yeah, we sent the Daily Telegraph report, which was on the 24th of March, written by Davis. What's her name? Caroline Davis. Thank you. And it was also reported in the Daily Mail, but we just used the Daily Telegraph report, which was incidentally in page about 15 in a small article, when it should have been headline news, for goodness sake. It probably was. Sorry? Womack. Right, I hadn't even seen that myself, mate. To be honest, if you can provide that next time, yeah, do so, because we can always add it. But we just use what's freely available and freely observed, because it's still, you can still Google that, do a Google search, and you can still pick it up. You can still get it. So we use those pieces of evidence plus the oath of allegiance in the first notice of conditional acceptance. So we conditionally accept all your demands on proof that Article 61 is in effect. Here's the evidence. Now, mostly they'll ignore you. I think I've already said this. And, I've gone through the process. So it's the default opportunity to cure is they ignore you, or they don't rebut your comment, your points, which I suggest we number 2 points. Is Article 61 in effect? Are you standing under it? Those 2 points. That's all we ask. If you go into contractual agreements and all those other things, you'll give them wriggle room. Okay? They respond to you with nonsense about legislation. It's wiggle room. Just ask the very basic question. Have you the authority since Article 61 came into effect on the 23rd of March 2001, blah, blah, blah. All they can do is ignore you or commit a very serious crime by denying the Constitution, which is sedition. And they will be providing you evidence of that sedition. So you can look in the files that I've done. You can look at how I responded to Judge Richard Bromillow from Yeovil County Court over the contempt of court and prison sentence charge, where he said, because Danielle gave me power of attorney, so we put that in the notice, in the default notice, saying that this guy's got power of attorney. So he wrote back saying, you have to attend court yourself. You cannot use power of attorney in this way. So I wrote back to him saying, we will treat that remark with the contempt that it deserves. Give it to him. Hit him. Once you've got past the default notice, you can tell him straight. We tell them to F off politely. And we do it, and they do. And that's the point.
How do you sign yourself? Do you sign it as a person or the man? Because this is the next consenting part.
Okay.
What status are you in when you are doing that?
Okay, as soon as you've created an oath of allegiance, you've denounced all ownership, all connection or allegiance to the legal fiction. So straight away, your thumbprint, that's all legal stuff. You don't need that. Just sign. We don't even sign of the family, David of the family Robinson. We don't do that. It's all legalese. Now, as soon as you enter into Article 61, you're taking your allegiance from the Crown. All the legalese stuff stands under the Crown. You know, the birth certificate is copyright of the Crown. You've rebutted that by just creating the open allegiance. That's it. So don't bother with it.
Doesn't matter how you sign
No.
it. You just put your name for me, David Jeremy.
Sign it in blood, sign it in pink, sign it in red, doesn't matter. It's just your name, the name that's the parents' name, it's not the legal
The
name.
given name, the given name.
Yeah.
So you'd use the given name.
You use your given name. You don't
David.
even,
So just David would you? Yeah.
you can, but I always sign David Robinson. That's my name.
Once you sign that, then you're setting out the jurisdiction of it anyway. And you're under Article 61, so it doesn't matter about it.
Yeah, I can do that via a statute to declare. The reason I ask that is because I'm knowledgeable of the other side of it, which is what you're saying, the wriggle rule, the notice of intent, statutory declaration, affidavit, serving people and putting them on notice, and then obviously moving forward in the status as the living man and having the public all caps and the private person. So if I ever wanted to go to court, should I be crazy enough to, I would use my private person, not the all caps, and not claim the name.
Because you want to go to a court. They're all courts of law.
Yeah, I know.
They're all
Default, de facto, yeah, de facto, not de jure. Yeah, I'd go into a juris persona there.
So what is your, in a nutshell, from stage 1, 2, 3, 5, like I've not enacted this article yet, what is that in a nutshell? What is the process?
what are we achieving, or what's the process?
To remove out of that legal.
What we're doing is we're rejecting. We're rejecting. We're not protesting.
You don't want to be a part of that society.
Well, we can't lawfully. The law forbids you to be part of it, to accept legalese today.
So what is that step we're saying enacted? You've got to write your own. What is the stage that I would follow? Yeah, what's the
It's got the process on the
Well, we have the process on it yet. If you read the step-by-step process, or if you read the layman's guide, I've got a hard copy. I downloaded a hard copy of the layman's guide. It's 130 pages long. I'm not going to read it out. But within this process, I hope to have been able to give you the right concept of what we're doing here, the right concept about the law. And the reason why it's so long is I've added the other 3 processes to prove that this stuff works. So most of it is the processes that we've actually used. This reading is well worth reading because it should give you the right understanding of the constitutional law, because most of us are in, we haven't got a clue. I mean, most of us have been misdirected by the Freeman movement. Don't get me wrong, sir. I was an admin on FMOTL for a year. I went through the Freeman.
Everyone has a learning curve, don't they? That's it. You make mistakes as you learn, and you make mistakes.
Yes,
and you use your
exactly. And so I've got sympathy with people that are stuck in between, because the Freeman premise is to use their rules and their courts against them to try and get a remedy. Well, you're never, ever going to do that. You're never going to do that. Because they're not courts, and all you're doing is giving those rules credibility by using them. So
how do
Lawful
we
rebellion.
we need to bring the solutions to create this court with the 12, what did you say, the 12?
we need a properly convinced court.
How do you create that?
Well, this is going to take whatever this is to get. Because with my personal process 5 years ago, what I did is I registered my truck, I did it on the Freeman stuff, I was acting as a Freeman on the land, went up to DVLA, deregistered it, put on the name on the plate, added sign in the window, no tax, and of course I got arrested. But I had sent a notice of lawful objection to the local chief inspector of police, the road traffic police from Wiltshire, and so he was fully, he knew of my standing. And this is something that we are asking people to do, is to, if you're going to get into any problems lodging with the police, to send them a notice of lawful objection. Do you object to me sending an Article 16? If you do, please tell me why. I'm doing this to save a breach of the peace, possibly in the future. Sorry, sidetracking.
You say to get remedy, you need a proper competent court, which would, because we've seen, how do you create, is there one?
No.
So how do you bring one in?
Well, this is where the movement has to go. We need to unify.
Yeah, but what is it made up of? Is it made up of just normal people?
Well, it's made up of what you mean the court or the legal?
Well, this common law court, can it just be 12?
No. The common law court has to have a judge that stands under a judicial oath. It has to have a jury of 12 peers, and it has to stand under the British constitutional law. Right? No, it shouldn't be that. No, you made a good point. It shouldn't
A
be that.
trustworthy judge, 12 normal people.
Standing under the British constitution. Well, I tell you what's difficult about it.
But then I see what you're saying, this whole process.
Prove that. Well, I'm not going to go there. That's what I found out. So the process, the only way we're going to get a public convened court to shore, and we need it to get the treason matter heard in that court, is for the people to unite and to demand it. So we're planning on bringing a class action this summer against the all and sundry, all politicians, all laws, UKIP, because they pretend to be, we're going to go after certain alternative media outlets like David Icke, because he should be standing out under it and reporting on Article 61's implication and lawful rebellion movement. And so we're going to make a public show of serving notices on Nigel Farage, who's allegedly going to accept a knighthood on the alleged Queen's birthday on the 10th of June. So we're in the process of working out how we can do that peacefully. We're going to have to put the police, the Met on notice, to put everyone on notice.
Wouldn't it be interesting to bring a class action against, say, Boris Johnson, Mark Fallon, and what's the other guy, Hammond?
Well,
rather for funding terrorism.
It's just said, could we bring a class action against Hammond? A few of the other people for aiding and abetting, what was it, war crimes? Terrorism. Well, we could, but the main objective for the movement is to get the treason matter heard. Because treason, the treason matter, once heard in a court of law, will change everything. For a start, all EU treaties would be null and void instantly. They were all illegally signed up to. All the United Nations signed up, our treasonous government signed up to in 1948 would be null and void. We cannot stand under the United Nations human rights rubbish. They can repeal it, same as the European Union's human rights. They can repeal it. If we accept it, they can later repeal it. We have our own human rights in the Bill of Rights, Declaration of Rights, Coronation Oath Act, the Magna Carta. We have all our human rights there. So the main objective is to get Article 61 in the courts, which is why every time we do a process, we only stick to Article 61. Because if we do get a court to jail, we will have treason heard in a proper court, in a court where the people hear it. Because obviously a public convened court de jour is held in open forum and obviously stands under the Constitution, so therefore we cannot be denied. Yes, sir.
I recently wrote to my MP, Conservative, asking how he could square the Queen's Oath of Allegiance with the Lisbon Treaty.
Right, good question. And I bet you got no answer, did you?
It wasn't the MP that replied, it was the gopher in the office, introduced the word treason. I didn't mention it.
Really? That would be interesting.
And said there was no treason because the country was part of the community and therefore became a new country, therefore there was no breach of the Oath of Allegiance.
Well, that's easily got over by the fact that David Barmby, who's here today, David Barmby, the guy who collected all the evidence for his sedition and treason and put it into a document which you can get off of David. This is evidence that Edward Heath committed sedition and treason at common law by bringing the line to the British electorate about being no essential loss of national sovereignty and sorry, I had it upside down. And so, well, thank you, David, for that. You did a great job.
Burgess is actually trying to get the Wiltshire police to follow up the treason there.
Great.
So if anybody wants to cooperate with Albert Burgess, I can be in touch with him. He's produced all the evidence.
Yeah.
He's submitted it.
The trouble with...
You said that to me.
So I've set up a Facebook group and we've got a website coming up. Unfortunately, Albert doesn't see eye to eye with the Lawful Rebellion movement. He thinks we're just doing it to save a few quid. He doesn't seem to get it. So Albert and I have had a few heated discussions on Facebook, let me say.
If you haven't got the CD, by the way, I'm selling £2 over here.
Thank you, David. So, to answer that, the 1972 Act was an act of treason and evidently so. So you could respond to that with that. Giving him a copy of the shoehorn into the EU as evidence.
You can download it as well. You can download the shoehorn into the EU CD.
Well, it was treason, obviously, to do that, to try and create... They didn't create another country, they annexed us under the European Union. We became a region, 9 regions of the European Union. And England, in future, if we allow this to go on, will not exist as a nation. Scotland will have their parliament, Wales will have theirs, but England won't. We'll be totally under the European Union parliament. That was before the Brexit thing, but trust me, Theresa May ain't going to give up, let us get out of the European Union. And even if we did, the UN won't want it, because it's the UN that brought the EU into being in the first place.
Surely, after 50 years of that treaty, the EU's had 2 years to make up any law to rebut whatever. So nothing's changed.
Nothing's changed, and nothing will change until the people unite. And all we're asking people to do is to support us and unite under British constitutional law to save our sovereignty. Without sovereignty, there can only be slavery, people. I don't know what else I can say. I've got a duty to compel you if you don't want to.